What's going on, world? So here we see here, God of War Ragnarok is at 34,000 CCU on Steam. It's not on fire. It's like, you know what I mean? And looking at the Trent reports title right here, Sweet Baby gets another L. That's always great. God of War Ragnarok Steam player count loses half of the original God of War, as we see. So, what was Sweet Baby Inc. involved in? And by the way, anything they do, they fail. We're also living in a present right now compared to back then when God of War launched too, where people are a lot more aware of who they are. Definitely, if you add in, said the presidential election uh, nonsense going on, that keeps people's eyes open more because people start learning more about how this political invasion can work because people are a lot more aware of it in the political parties because now they know what's going on the far left, you know. And when you just take all that together with people's awareness of Sweet Baby Inc. too, definitely in the PC community, people are going to avoid that a lot more, and this is great. So going over here, you could see things that are Sweet Baby Inc. detected. That's something that you guys can look at. I mean, look at this, 437,000 followers. That's pretty cool. I love seeing that. And right here says, yes, this is work done by Sweet Baby Inc. We worked on narrative and character consultation with a focus on presentations. Yeah, that means sticking things where they don't belong in the world. Like, if you think about the North mythology, trying to blackwash North mythology is just moronic because it has nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense, you know? And this is what they do a lot. It's different when you have natural development. Like if you look at plenty of games in the 90s where there's plenty of different races in games, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, they just naturally made the game, right? But when you're trying to enforce things and then make things gay and trans that just don't have anything to do with that in a natural world, then yeah, it's a huge problem. And it's just something that they do. They don't help with the video game industry. They make everything sink in quality. They distract people from game development and they try to enforce things and make developers' lives harder. They're trash. So I'm so glad that people are just not working with them. I've been reading videos too where people are just avoiding them now. They don't even want to hire them, period. And this is great. But we're going to go ahead and get into what John Neb Trent here has to say. I like this guy. He seems to be very genuine, straightforward, and honest. I took a look at his Twitter too, and I see what he represents, you know, on the spirit side, and I like that. So let's go ahead and dive into this real quick and react a little bit along the way. But yeah, right here, y'all can see all the games that they're involved in. They'll tell you, you know, who they're involved with and all that. Great stuff.
PlayStation Studios and Sony Santa Monica are discovering what it is to smell sweet baby stink as their God of War Ragnarok game
Nice.
has less than half the peak concurrent players of the God of War game that was released, 4 years ago? Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the
Did the
Trent
same for me,
Report.
y'all.
Roll this up over at
Appreciate that.
thatparkplace.com, and you can see right there God of War Ragnarok, which was just released earlier this week, hit a peak concurrent player count of 31,606 earlier today, just a few days. As I said, after it became available to purchase on Steam, we can look at it right here. This is live, only 21,494 people playing right now. The peak concurrent was 31,606, just about when I wrote the article, actually, about 11 hours ago. And that is less than half of the previous installment in the franchise God of War, which had a peak concurrent player count of 73,529 when it released to Steam back in January 2022. So,
okay, so another interesting thing is there some people saying that they're requiring you to sign in to PlayStation Network as well, and they don't like that. And maybe some countries may not have it. That can factor in a bit too. But the base of Steam is bigger now. The God of War IP is bigger now. I say it's a combination of all, but the biggest combination is Sweet Baby Ink detected. And like I said, what people know now, the eyes on the DEI world and the woke world are huge now. So anything they get involved with flops and fails immediately. It all just dies. The only reason this game even has that many is because of the Sony brand and the God of War IP. Otherwise, it would be canned into the ground. Because you got people too that played part one that loved it, that wanted to go right into that regardless. And this sequel is not as good as part one, but you know it's still a good game because those are good developers. But yeah, Sony just stop. Never work with them again. If you guys launch that fair game, a dollar game, I don't know what to tell you if you haven't looked at that. Yeah, you're gonna be having another Concord situation. Get out of that Californian mindset. It's not gonna work.
I was a little bit off my time there. 2 years, not 4, but still
Sorry.
absolutely terrible. You can see that right here. If you want to look, obviously 72,529. I mean, it's still getting like a third of the current players, right? We're looking at 21,000. We're looking at 7,000 right there. So
Let's see what they have now. Okay, because I was looking at this earlier. 34K. Let's refresh it. Whatever. Yeah, 34K. Like I said, that's still not impressive though. It should be at like 100,000, 150,000. Like it should be doing a lot better than that. But yeah, not only that, but they launched it for the price they launched it. Shouldn't have done that. Should have been on sale because it's already been out long enough. Don't be greedy. I see, like this is where I tell people too when it comes to greed because I hate greed. If I could sell 1 million copies at $49.99, I would make more money than selling 100,000 copies at $69.99 plus tax. But there's some people that are very arrogant, and Sony's one of them for sure.
not looking good for Sony, Santa Monica, and PlayStation. Interestingly, both games have the exact same Metascore of 94 from critics on Metacritic. However, the user score is a full point lower for God of War Ragnarok. It's at 8.1, while God of War has a 9.1. Despite the scores being similar, the lack of players for God of War indicates players are not purchasing the game. I think that's obvious. One of the reasons could be that video game consultancy Sweet Baby Inc., led by Kim Belair, worked on God of War Ragnarok. Given this fact, the game was added to Cabrutus Rainbow's Sweet Baby Inc. Detective Steam curator list, which has over 436,912 followers. There's a screenshot of Sweet Baby Inc.'s website, God of War Ragnarok, right there in the center of that. So they did indeed work on this, and I do think that this is having an effect on people purchasing this game. Obviously, it is not the only thing. Another reason for the lack of players could be the fact that PlayStation Studios, the game's publisher, is charging full price for the game, despite it originally being released as an exclusive on PlayStation back in 2022 when they released the God of War, the 2018 God of War game to Steam. Furthermore, the game requires Steam players to link their account to a PlayStation Network account for a single-player game. A lot of players not happy about that.
Yeah, so like it's the combination of all of that, and it didn't help out with Helldivers either. This is where I say that Sony, you're kind of acting like the DEI consultants, them in general, by kind of like just enforcing things and not listening to people. That you didn't learn your lesson yet. You know what I mean? Just take the cells. Don't require a PSN. Make it optional if people want to do that. That would be my thing. Make it optional. If they wanted to earn trophies, don't enforce it on people. And stop working with these losers right here. They're losers. They're godless losers. Stop working with them. They just don't help on anything. And I just love the fact that they're all getting exposed and that they just don't have any power to do much except sit there and QQ. And like I said, if you guys read some other reports and other videos, nobody wants to work with them anymore. This is good. Gotta love it.
This PlayStation Network account requirement saw many players leave negative reviews. The reviews for the game on Steam are currently mixed, or they were when I wrote this, with Steam reporting that 67% of the 2,888 user reviews for this game are positive. SteamDB reports the game received 484 negative reviews on September 19th, 765 negative reviews on the 20th, and there were 256 so far on the 21st. So we actually can scroll down here a little bit and see if anything has changed. It's not going to show me, but you can see here that 3,302 positive now and 1,668 negative. So probably a little bit more positives have come in because we can see here that there were 2,862 and there were 1,505.
That should be higher.
Whereas now 3,302, 1,668. So significantly more positives than negative, but both are still kind of coming in. The game was scrutinized by gamers back in 2022 after the game Race replaced the Jotun Anger Boda. There you can see what the character looks like in the game. The game's narrative director, Matt Sofas, responded to the criticism on X, writing this: "Do they also have blue dwarves in Norse mythology? Was Loki the son of a Greek demigod? Please show me in the edits where it says that all Jotun were lily white. Let me save you the time. You can't. I've read them."
See, that's the thing. It's like, why is it always that when you're using a black character, it's always in the wrong means consistently? And then you have these people that are slow too that want to support that and act like it's good. It's like, but it's the wrong placement. Everything is done in the wrong manner. Why can't you do anything right? Why can't you create worlds where you start off from the ground up as your own heroes and stuff like that, and then people want to come in your world? Why is it always in this manner? It's a mental disorder. And it's always disrespectful to other cultures. It seems like that's the way everything wants to be represented every time, disrespecting another culture.
When asked if he would make white characters in an Egyptian God of War series, Sophus responded, "You do know Jotun aren't real, right? They can be anyone or anything. Some are even giant serpents. But I get it. You were okay with Jormungandr because his scales were white, right? Well, good luck to you. Hope you can find a game that better fits your sensibilities." In a lengthier thread, he explained the decision around Angerboda, saying, "Angerboda in our game is a young black woman. The vast majority of players are thrilled and think she looks incredible. And boy, does she. But a tiny vocal sliver of the internet was offended at this notion. I'm going to address a few of the main topics of outrage." First, he said, you caved to outside pressure. He says, "I can count on two fingers the number of notes we've gotten for story changes to 2018 plus God of War Ragnarok combined. This was not one of them. I'm grateful for the trust given to us to tell the best story possible without interference." So yeah, nonsense. Interestingly, he's saying he only got 2 notes, but they hired Sweet Baby Ink. So I guess they didn't provide any notes to him and the team at Sony Santa Monica at all. That doesn't really add up at all.
Nope.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's politics for you.
Just, you literally can't make this stuff up. We hired a bunch of consultants. A bunch of consultants actually said that they worked on the game, but we only received 2 notes on both games. Okay. No one believes you. That is an absolute lie.
Mm-hmm.
He's just straight up lying. He then wrote, "You made it political. As a writer, your job is to tell stories that are compelling and relatable. You bring pieces of yourself to stories, and your opinions shine through. So writing is always political. It's just usually only called that if the politics aren't agreed with." That's absolutely not true.
What?
We actually have a really good article that novelist Isaac Young published on the thatparkplace.com, or he actually did it in an X thread, reached out to him, asked him if I could publish it, and he agreed. So we did publish it on thatparkplace.com. I'll actually link it in the description below because he basically just absolutely obliterates this entire argument that it's everything is political. It's just absolutely.
He literally is trying to polarize people's writing into a political box. Writing is way more free than that. The way it was created by the creator, it's infinite. There's so much more to writing. Like, what an enclosed, boxed, tunnel vision mindset to make that type of statement to try to defend Sweet Baby Inc. and your DEI enforcement. That's what he's doing here, you see? He's trying to convince you that if you agree with my statement, then it's okay and we can get past it. He's trying to dance around with lies. Uh, that is one of the most ignorant statements I've seen in a while. Everything writing is political. What? I'm a poet. I write so much poetry. You know what I mean? I mean, I consistently every day write poetry. I'm not trying to like bring y'all into my poetic world, but as an example, as you see right here, I'm not going to stop for too long, but I write poetry. When it comes to writing, you see, you can check out my page if y'all want my Twitter right down there. When it comes to writing, I'm going to tell you, and anybody that writes stories is going to tell you, what type of nonsense is that? It's insane.
Absolutely not true. There are a lot of other things besides politics, philosophy, morality, etc. That things are they're just not political. It's just a garbage reasoning
Yeah.
and worldview. It just kind of shows that their minds have been twisted. That everything has to be political. But Isaac Young does a really good job breaking it down. He went on and said, it's not accurate to Norse mythology, doesn't respect the culture. Whoo boy, the big one. Let me start with this. God of War is our interpretation of mythology, not history, Norse or Greek. We tell a personal story with the backdrop of gods, giants, etc. through our lens. He then went over a number of other characters that the game series has changed. And then before returning to Angrboda, when he did return to Angrboda, he wrote this. I guess what I'm saying is this. We've consistently taken mythological characters and given them our own spin. So if the color of Angrboda's skin is where you draw the line and how respectful we've been, it's probably worth some self-examination. Thanks for listening. So he's basically saying, if you don't like it, you're basically a racist. What do you expect from these people? That's what they
Oh
always
God,
do.
here goes that card again.
And they always try and play coy with it too. But this is the current video game industry in a nutshell. And they're paying for it now. They are absolutely paying for it now, as gamers are just absolutely fed up with it. And we can see here again, only 31,606 peak concurrent compared to 73,529, less than half for Ragnarok compared to God of War. On top of changing Angrboda's race, though, the game was also criticized after writer Anthony Birch admitted he wanted to make Kratos talk about kissing men. He said this, I was a writer on this. I don't know if you'll like the parts I wrote, but I'm pretty sure you'll like the game in general. Also, I tried really hard to make Kratos talk about kissing guys. He then added this, implying that maybe he's joking. Who knows? Anytime these people are saying something, I just believe them. I believe that they're, especially when they're talking about degenerate things, they're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
If they're talking about anything else, they're usually lying. But if they're talking about how degenerate they're making things, they're usually telling you the truth. Because he goes on and says, I don't know if that line made the final cut. It lives in the same purgatory with the line where Kratos mentions PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale as being a canon part of his backstory. So
how does that thought even go through this guy's mind about thinking about making Kratos kiss somebody? That never occurred in my mind ever since God of War existed. That literally says a lot about him. Yeah, you have a mental disorder.
Obviously, he posted this, and then he's like, well, it could be fake. I could be lying. Why would you even do this? It just boggles the mind. And it just kind of just shows, again, that these people are dishonest people for the most part. And the only time, like I said, that they do tell the truth is when they're talking about how they're going to turn things into debauchery or degeneracy, etc. And that's the things that they are going to be promoting through their video game, movie, television, etc. It's usually the only time they tell the truth. Otherwise, they are lying. And and then they double down on their lies, and then they're usually projecting onto you their own personal problems, their own incapacities, their own misgivings, etc. But you gotta laugh at this, though, right? Sweet baby stink is all over this game, and less than half of what the 2018 game did when it came to Steam in 2022.
Another thing, like he was saying, how they lie, and then once you see through all the lies, now let's hit them with your racist card. You're racist because you saw through everything. Kind of reminds me of that statement he said, everything is political. That type of mindset is going to tell you it's they're all racist, and it's the same type of mental disordered uh, activity. Yeah.
Another massive L for Sweet Baby. They keep racking them up every single game that releases that has their stink attached to it. And we will continue to be documenting every single one of their games that releases because it is going to be a abysmal failure after abysmal failure. And that's what it has been
Right here,
all
yeah.
of 2024. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. What do you make of God of War Ragnarok having less than half?
That was a good video. I like him. He's cool. Yeah, y'all like, subscribe. Y'all like this type of content. I mean, I'm gonna be doing this for years. I'm gonna be giving you epic games as well when it comes to like streaming content, all of that, controversy, drama, everything, exposing sick people like Sweet Baby Inc. and all those other people. So I ain't going nowhere. Glad to cover this. I like him, and I see that, you know, he was also behind Bounding into Comics. I like his page too, so I kind of see the connections going around and then going to his website. So I like what they're doing. They're doing light work. It's good to know that. But all in all, yeah, Sony, stop. It's not working. All right, y'all. Peace out. Stay smart and don't support this crap.